Hey, this is Jonathan. I also go by the alias Rats. I like to make bass music, specifically Riddim. I've been on a very a Riddim phase right now, um, and I have noticed that there is absolutely no tutorials on using Bitwig for making Riddim. So I kind of wanted to break the mold there and be one of the first people to do it. Um, and keep in mind that Bitwig it provides a lot of shortcuts to things that you can do, but not everything in this list is going to be Bitwig specific. So if you're interested in this and you want to try to apply it to your own tracks and find a workaround, you most likely can. So one more thing I want to say is this is my first time making a video like this. So if I ramble on go on for too long about anything, then please just leave a comment, give me some feedback. I wanna learn how to keep everyone engaged. So let's just get straight to it. So the first thing I want to talk about is a volume shaper. I'm gonna set something up real quick and then I'll show you what that is. Okay, so I spent a little bit too long trying to set this up, but this is my volume shaper here, and basically I have a simple square 4 sound I've got going, and I set up a sub and some drums. So this is the final result I got with it. It's literally just one bar. That's it. But this here, the volume shaper gives it a tighter sound. So if we listen. So that's your volume shaper basically keeping the sound contained and tight. It actually doesn't sound bad without the volume shaper. So if we listen to this. In this instance, I actually might not even take out the volume shaper. I actually kind of like how it sounds without. Now I'm gonna show you actually how to set this up, and I just want to save this real quick. You can do this with Ableton. It's called a utility. This is basically Bitwig's version of the utility. It comes with the volume and the gain. I usually just mess with the gain. I don't think that makes a difference. Now you have two different types of LFOs you can make. You could do the LFO. This gives you kind of some control over it, but I don't use it that much because you can't really draw in your own LFOs. Bitwig has this really cool modulator called the curves modulator. If you see right here, it comes with this by default. I always just remove that so it's all unipolar. And then the way I like to make it is to kind of shape it the same way as my sub. So I actually have it pretty tight. Down here you choose your rate, and then I want to sync it. There you go, you get your volume shaper here. So if you look at my sub pattern, I have it kind of similar. I like to keep my sub kind of contained, but it's all up to taste. You don't have to use volume shapers. So in Bitwig you can basically choose any of the, you have a crap ton of modulators, and you can do all sorts of complicated things for it. But the thing I like the most about it is this you can just create your own LFOs. And then basically I turn down the gain all the way, just like a normal volume LFO, and I crank it up to 36. If you can't get it quite precise, the nice thing is you also have operators in Bitwig. But if you see here, when you select a modulator, you can basically, it shows up over here, you hold control, and then you type in the value, and you get the precise value that you want. That's another really amazing thing with Bitwig. But yeah, so that's essentially volume automation or volume shaping or modulation, if you want to say it that way. Obviously, there's some extra stuff I added to this. I have got an OTT, some reverb, and then EQing the lows. Another cool thing with volume shaping is I could do this and have it so it's half notes, and then we have the call here and then response. So we do kind of a whole quarter and then 2/8 notes. So that's one Riddim trick I would also use for flows. If you want to mess around with different flows, you could also just do that. You don't have to fully cut it out. You could have it go like 50%. You just play around with it, like just have fun with it. The next thing I wanted to share is basically Bitwig's version of multipass. So if I go into here and I type in MultiBand FX, you actually have different multiband splitting within Bitwig. So you don't have to go into kilohertz and you don't have to get multipass. You can just have a stock device for this. And then you have essentially all the control right here. So if we want, you know, the crossovers to be down here, and I say I want only the mids to have, like, I don't know, it might sound weird, but a frequency shifter. This might not sound good. If I wanted to move this to the highs. So the possibilities are endless. Next one I wanted to share is the grid. So I'm not going to try and do too much of crazy stuff because I'm still trying to learn it. But if we look up FX grid, it's essentially you have your ins and your outs, and you can do very, very like down to like signal flow level. Like I don't have the right words for it, but you can get to like very complicated stuff. You have so much flexibility with this. If you click in the shaper section here, you have all of these different distortions. One that I sometimes mess around with is the transfer. So this is essentially just a distortion or a clipper that you can make on your own. So right now, the sound is, it's equal, the in is equal to the out. So, but I can sort of, if I'm not wrong, I think I'm hard clipping the signal. So you can do crazy things with this. You can get some very unique sounds, and it's all like right here. You just mess with it. I'm not gonna dive into the grid. You could, if you're interested in the grid, there's a lot of videos out there. But I would definitely check it out, like learn a little bit. This is like basically modular synthesis, except it's in the digital realm. The next one I wanted to share is the Stockholm filter. I just realized Stockholm Stockholm, never mind. I don't know what I was going at. I don't see this on a lot of DAWs. I'm not sure. I know Ableton doesn't have one, but Bitwig has a comb filter built in as a stock. So if I wanted to, I could just it's very simple. Like you have three controls here. You've got your frequency, your feedback, your mix. You know, what more do you need from a comb filter? And I actually want to transition from this to one other thing here. If you look, let me just see if you can actually see that. I guess you can't see it. But if you click here, if you see down here next to this show device panel button, you can see actually it shows the frequency and what note it is. So with comb filters, you can essentially tune your comb filters, and it's amazing. It's actually so useful. So if I am like, oh, I need it to be, since I wrote this in D, yeah, I could just go in here and I can just adjust it so it says D. Not only that, I could literally type in the note. If I type in, make sure you have to clear out the entire prompt. You have to make sure it's empty. If you type D1, it snaps it straight to that frequency. That's pretty neat. It's another workflow feature that I think Bitwig is amazing for implementing. So thank you, Bitwig, for putting that in. Another cool feature that Bitwig has is hybrid tracks. The cool thing about Bitwig is it doesn't limit you to doing just either or for one track. Say I wanted to select this section of the sound. If I bounce in place, it essentially creates a audio clip of it. And then with this, I could do some resampling, and I mean, this doesn't sound good. If I wanted to kind of like, I don't know, stretch it out, I'd say like the resampling, like the warping in Bitwig isn't incredibly impressive, not as impressive as Ableton's, but I think it's still capable. It adds some nice, there's some nice features and different types of resampling that you can do. It sounds kind of goofy, but you got what I'm trying to go for. It's something you can mess around with. Now keep in mind when you select these and you bounce in place, all it's doing is bouncing out what's going on within the instrument. So it doesn't include the post-processing on the track. I believe if you group these together and you create an instrument layer, let's just hear how it sounds if I bounce this out and create the instrument layer. The next one I want to go over is modulation. Modulation is going to be your workflow friend. I like to use a lot of velocity mapping because what I will do is I will say you want a unique flow going where you want quarter note, 2/8 notes, quarter note, 2/8 notes. Let me just build that out real quick. So what I've done is I have it set so that the velocity essentially double the rate of a modulator. So right now I have it set so that at full velocity you're hitting 1/8 notes. So it sounds like, and the reason why it's kind of like stretched out like that is because I have the velocity both controlling the B rate, which is this right here. It controls this. And as soon as I drop the velocity, it goes to, you see it drops down to quarter notes. And then you can do the same thing for this, except you don't have to choose this here. All you do is just basically say, oh, go half. If you look at this and you click on this, I have it basically going half of a quarter note, which is an 1/8 note. And if you go ahead, again, if you look at the operators, you can really tune it in. The only downside to this is knowing exactly what rates that, for example, like modulator B rate is not, it's kind of ambiguous because it just comes in values. It's just from 0 to 1. So you kind of have to fine tune it. So what I did was basically I turned all these to 100, and then I just kind of fine tuned it until I saw it hitting 1/8. And then that way you can get some pretty unique kind of flows going. So yeah. Like all you do is just select the velocity here. If you want to make all of these guys just quarter notes, you just select this. You have the operator right here. You drop it down. I want it all to be eighth notes. It might sound. You could also just like have something else modulating that, like, I don't know, pressure would, if you kind of want like, if you have the expressions down here, so if you really want to work fast and disable this, you can do that. I actually kind of just figured that out just now. Next up, we have loop functionality. This is an arrangement trick. If I click on the loop here, now say I want this to go on for about 16 bars. Say I don't have these cue markers here, but say I'm like, I don't know when to switch to my B section. Well, right here, I can just choose, okay, I want it to be 16 bars. Bam, just like that. You've got your A. Okay, cool. Now I'm gonna insert my cue marker, type in B. There we go. We got our B section. Okay, well, what about my C section? Haha, C section. Haha. Anyways, well, I just want to go to the 33rd beat mark, the 33rd bar, and then I choose a position right here, 33. Bam, you're over here now. Okay. Now I'm going to make a C section. Say I want to make a full on, like, you know, old school rhythm. We're going to go 64 bar drop. All right. I'm ready to bring this over again. Okay. And let's make our D section. It helps me a lot when I don't know exactly at what point should I, you know, cut things out and implement a new element, you know? So it helps with call and response, helps with flows, everything. So if you are using Bitwig, I would strongly recommend that. Next up, I want to talk about operators. I've actually been showing off operators like this whole time. Operators essentially show up here on the left here. And what it is it's just you have extra settings for this. So for modulators, you get to fine tune the rate or the value that you want the modulator to be, right? For the loops, you can choose what length, what position. I've literally been showing this off the entire time. It's all very, very contained. It's all on one page. I think that's really mostly it with operators, but operators kind of get me through a lot of the hassle of going from one page to another in other DAWs. In Bitwig, it's all kind of on one page. And if you're really like, if that's the type of workflow that you're into, and then I wanted to talk about the stem export selection. I have this written down in my notes. If you have all your samples kind of separated into separate things, it can be a lot to kind of choose. If you're making stems for something, I could just do this, select, 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 select. I don't have anything on these except for like 3 things, but I'm just going to show it just for example's sake. If you see right here, you have everything. It exports just like that. And it all exports at the same time. So you don't have to export one and then wait until that's done exporting to go to the next one. The last benefit I want to go over, because I think this video is getting too long, is not something, it's also something that you can do within other DAWs. But I just wanted to share it because it's something I learned very recently. From this guy named Copycat. I was watching this video, and I'm going to link it in the description. It's called sound design
Yeah.
in Ableton Live with Copycat. He talks about what he does with sidechaining. He actually shared this trick that he uses to make the transients pop out in your drums more. If you click extra here and you put in a time shift or some sort of delay, if you just set it to like 4-6 milliseconds, it essentially will activate your sidechain, but it just slightly delays the initial transients of whatever you have sidechained. So for this, I have. So it's not really going to be noticeable now, but essentially your transients hit harder when there's a just slight gap of silence between that and your drum and your transient. So it makes your drums just sound louder. It's just a neat little trick. If you just attach it to the end, it doesn't affect the sidechain. If you just have the sidechain triggered by one of the drums, if you have this put on the entire drum group, it would just shift it 4 milliseconds forward, and you get the benefits. You get to reap the benefits. Last thing I wanted to get to is the cons. I want to be transparent about some of the things that if you've gone through this video and you're very convinced to get Bitwig, I do want to just make a few comments about some of the problems that I've had with Bitwig that I don't think other digital audio workstations have. One of them is exporting issues, and that only specifically with this plugin called Snapback. I bought this plugin by Cable Guys, and what it does is you basically can add a pre-transient or whatever you call it, you kind of add like a whip to it. What I'm trying to get at is sometimes I've had issues exporting where everything is messed up, but it really like messes up the entire project, and it doesn't always do it. So I think this is a Bitwig specific issue, and there's not really much conversation about it because it's a small community. Bitwig is a lesser known digital audio workstation, so you just have less people complaining about it. And I'm just not sure if this is a Bitwig issue or if this is a Cable Guys issue or if it's both somehow. I wish there was some kind of notice to this. I might make a video on it. If I bounce the entire drum audio out, then I don't have to deal with that problem. And then one other con I wanted to talk about, you just have less tutorials. I was gonna say there's steeper learning curve for if you're new to producing. It's gonna be a very overwhelming interface to learn. It's not too far off from Ableton, but it has its own little quirks that takes time to learn. So yeah. So overall, I'd say again, if I went on too long about anything, please let me know. I'm open to constructive criticism. If you're gonna be an asshole and say I'm yapping too much, then just don't watch the video. But please, constructive criticism is completely acceptable. I totally want to learn how to get to the point quicker. And I think if anyone has tips on how to do that, please just share it in the comments. But yeah, that's about everything that I wanted to share. That's all. Rats out.